So look here, we have worked on all the lighting and it just did its weird thing again, Miss Dana. Do you see it? You can't, you're muted.
I'm not quite sure. It looks okay
On your end?
yeah.
Okay, just funny. So we'll wait for some people to join us. This is our second day of the Secrets of the Soul. So let us know if you're joining us for a second day and how you're doing. And we were going to go into the second part of this 3-day course. It's a spiritual quest that we're all in, and I'm so excited about, bringing up our day 2. And I have some things to share, some really great things to share. But I think it's really funny with all of our lighting that we have, right? It's some stuff that's going on. There's Miss Blanche. Someone I know some of my stuff right here is being covered. So there is some technology stuff going on, which always happens in the house of Deb Shepherd, where we have some spirits probably messing with us. This is what we had yesterday as well. But as people join us, we're going to lean into our second day of Secrets of the Soul. And it's always great to have some students that are currently working with me. There's another one, there's Miss Gretchen and there's Blanche. So we always thrilled to have some people that we know to support our community, because they have been working with me for quite a few years and they know what it's done for them. And we probably will be talking about some of their experiences at some point, maybe tomorrow. But I think a part of this is really being able to know that this can literally waken up your consciousness and begin to shift the way you see yourself in this life. And I love it when they're saying hi, Deb and Dana, because it's obviously people that know us, right? I love it. It's like we come together, right? We're the two that come together. So I will wait another minute here. I know it takes a while for people to kind of get set up if they've been driving from work or feeding family or their animals, things like that. Yeah. It's getting centered and things like that too. But anything you need to share with anybody, Dana?
Just some shout outs. We've got somebody joining from Connecticut. Sound is fine, lighting brighter than yesterday. Thank goodness, right? People can actually see you.
Yeah. And there was we'll share a little bit here. We have, of course, Alexis in our office here. And we have a 2-year-old grandson, and he has a little tablet, and it was calling. He was Alexis and doing all this weird stuff. So he doesn't know how to do that. He's 2, but we just think it's always fascinating, interesting when these things happen. Electronics are a big thing for the spirit world, so that's a big piece of it too. So
and then hi to Dave Derby on.
Is Dave on? Hi, Dave. Good to see you. Yeah, I don't think I get to see everybody that you get to see. So, but love seeing from Michigan. Yay! Was shout out there, Florida. And thank you, everybody. We love that. And I know Gina, sorry about that, doesn't live here in Colorado anymore. So we know you're out of state as well. So thank you. What we're going to talk about, some of you I'm sure joined yesterday, but we're going to kind of talk about a little bit. Oh, Maine, look at that. Illinois. Isn't that wonderful? Arizona, Wisconsin. Wow, Chicago. Isn't it amazing? I know not everyone likes to be online with these platforms anymore, but what I do find is that our community gets a little smaller, and it's important. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that today too. Yesterday when we got done, I was telling Dana, because I don't get to see any faces. Dana gets to see faces. She gets to be able to connect with you guys, and I get to look at myself. It looks like I'm talking to my mirror for an hour. And so I really want to, anyone here that wants to participate and, put something in the chat where Dana can ask a question, please do so. I'd like it to be interactive. I told Dave at the end, I'm sitting here going, okay, where's anyone on? And, how are they responding? Do they feel things? So just let you know my end, I get to only see myself. So it's really kind of interesting to be able to stare at yourself and talk to yourself for this amount of time. But again, I appreciate everyone to be here. So namaste. Yesterday, we talked about briefly how we have 40,000 sensory neurites in our heart, and how our heart is basically our compass to how we navigate our life. And there's so many times that we are in situations in our life where we feel we're at a crossroads, and it might be a loss of a loved one, a job, or health or finances, just these kind of things that show up. And we start to begin to question a lot of things. And so when we want to use our intuition, it can be difficult because we're overwhelmed with what's happening. And so when you are able to connect again with your heart and open that up, the heart basically helps manage the mind. And that's what happens. We ruminate, we get angry, we get frustrated, and we can't get the clarity. So a lot of times the questions are, how do I know I can trust what I'm getting? If I feel my loved one or I feel my guides, how do I trust it? And what we were talking about yesterday is your heart is never going to direct you wrong. It will give you an answer before you begin to ask the question. And so the exercise I gave you yesterday was how to develop the heart muscle, and so it can open up to be able to connect with your mind. And those were the exercise you did. And if you're more curious about that, we got information from this. It's called Heart Math. So if this makes you want to dig a little bit deeper into it, you can certainly go to this organization called Heart Math. And what this does is it helps us open and heal our heart. Yesterday, we talked about how we close our heart over things that happen. And when we close our heart, we don't know really where our compass is and where to go forward. And we don't trust ourselves, and we don't know what to believe in, and we get very what we call stuck. And sometimes when we get stuck, we think that's safe, and it's really not safe. It's just that we're responding to what we know, and we can't get out of that loop. So how do we begin to change that? And it's looking at how do we change this? And the heart and our soul understands the secrets. And what you're learning to do is to go back into your heart to understand the secrets of your soul. When you were born, you knew before you incarnated, which is what I believe, that you had a plan. You had a vision of what you were here to do and learn. And what happens through life is that we get disconnected to that plan. So when we go back to our heart and we begin to heal and look at these things, the heart goes, I'm here to remind you the secrets of your soul. I'm here to remind you so that you can understand why these things have happened, or at least give you some more clarity of how to heal. And when we begin to heal, we find that inner strength again. What we also talked about is during our childhood, the first 6 years of our life, and including being in the womb, we have no filter. So we absorb all these things. When we were born, we had no ego, we had no fear. So depending on who we were with and their belief systems, we created our ego and fear. So we have this canvas that was completely clear and plain. And then all of a sudden, all these experiences get onto this canvas and it becomes our belief system. It becomes this area of fear and this feeling of we can't manage, and we're afraid to move forward. We're afraid to take risk. We're afraid to trust our intuition, and our intuition basically shuts down. So when we're activating these sensory neurites, we're activating them again to give us the secrets of our soul. How do we go back into our soul and be able to activate what we knew before we incarnated to get back to that? And as a psychic and a medium, I'm able to go into your Akashic records and get that information. And a lot of times people go, yeah, I felt that, but we don't know, and we're not taught how to connect those dots, how to take and put these things in place and to move forward. So these are some things that we want to do on day 2 today, Secrets of the Soul. And one of the things I wrote down is we don't know what we don't know, but when you know, you can't unsee it. And Dana talks about this when you are shown certain things, like when you are given the ability to see something, you can't go backwards. So even when you go see a medium or you see something that is a shift in your belief system, it begins to help you rewire your brain. And everything I teach in my program is if what you believe is working for you, wonderful. But if you're not, how do we then take our brain and rewire it to be able to support our desires, and how do we move forward? So when we're trying to manifest and create and connect with our loved ones, or create a partnership or finances or whatever it is, a better health, if we're in that fear and ego, we can't create that alignment with the universe because we're really in that fear and we're not into our heart, and it's not working together in that alignment. So when you align your heart and your brain, you have superpowers. Everything ends up coming in together, and you're like, wow, I'm I drove to work and I hit every green light. It's one of those kind of days where things are aligned and you're realizing how much easier it is because you're not having the kinks in your hose where you're having these blocks and you're feeling frustrated. Someone texted on the feed here was, why do I feel like I have bad luck all the time? Or, all these horrible things are happening to me. And one thing that I know and what I teach over these years is it's not happening to you, but is it happening for you? And I'm not, I look at the people who've lost children or have had significant pain, those things that happen to us, but we learn that's happened to us. How do we help others heal? How do we help heal ourselves? What do we do to change our world? Where's the ripple effect? And that can be really hard when we're in those places of deep grief, hurt, pain, and we're struggling. But as we pull ourselves through those things, then we begin to look at the journey a little differently. It can give us a different perspective. So those that were with me yesterday, I showed you my part of it is how do we look at things differently? When we have our story is really our story. So it becomes our identity. Can we take our story and see another perception and another way to manage it? How do we lean forward in our life so that it doesn't identify or be our only identity in our life? Sometimes that makes us feel like the victim versus a powerful person. And we don't like being called the victim. So how do we then begin to shift and change? A lot of this has to do with our faith and what we believe, and it's not about, being Christian or Jewish or Buddhist or Hindu. It's really about what we believe within us and how do we believe in our life and how do we look at that. One of the things that I also teach is what's called archetypes. It's sort of what we put on. So as a child, you may have had a great imagination. You may have wanted to be maybe a dancer, or you wanted to be a writer, or you wanted to be someone that traveled the world, things like that, maybe a chef, who knows what that is. But because of family dynamics, you were told you can't make money doing that you have to be, you have to go to school and have a job that's going to make you money so you can take care of yourself. Money doesn't go on trees, all of these things that we're told as a belief system. So again, this is about what we've been told to believe. So that part of ourselves, that part of we were a dreamer or an idea of, I want to be in fashion, or I want to be an actress, or I want to be a landscaper, with those kind of things that, we have that ability to kind of expand our mind and use our imaginations. We were told we can't do those things, or those things are not going to work for you. And so we begin to change who we are. And this is where the heart, parts of it begin to shut down, and the compass begins to not be there anymore. And it begins to tell our brain, wait a minute, I can't follow my heart. I can't listen to my heart. I have to do what society expects or what I've been told to believe. So that's why we're going back to the heart. So whatever archetype you become through life, these archetypes are basically our identities, our labels. And we are told through those labels and identities, it creates a value. People ask, what do you do? Well, I'm an attorney, or I'm a teacher, or I'm an athlete, or I'm a chef, or those kind of things. We have these identities of who we are that is a label, and people begin to judge us based on that label. What kind of car do you drive? Where do you live? Do you have any dogs? Do you have any children? Do you have animals? What political side of the aisle are you on? What religion are you on? Where do you travel? All these things become labels that create an image of who we are. Or is it who we are? Are we truly that person? So as we take on these identities throughout life, these archetypes, we pretend to be somebody that society accepts. And then we get confused. We get angry. There's actually anger. And we get shame and guilt along the way. That how is our performance? I see people making good money, having a really good life, but they're not happy because they're not following their heart or their dream. They're doing what society is expecting of them. And I think this happens a lot more with men in a lot of ways. I think it's changing. I think women are doing the same thing. But it's really hard that we have these ideas of what a worth is, what a value is. And so, telling someone I'm a medium or psychic, there's a lot of judgment. So there's times I use the prostitute archetype and I go, I'm a mentor. I help people through grief. And so that prostitute archetype is being someone that's not always authentic, because I know that maybe someone is going to have a difficult time knowing what I do for a living. So we change our roles. We become the warrior. How many times do we become the warrior? Because we have been hurt through life. Someone hurt our soul. Someone hurt our heart. We were, victimized as children. We had all this trauma. We've been abandoned. And when these things happen, we become warriors, that archetype of a warrior. And that's what we were talking about yesterday. We build this armor around us, and we can't get to our heart, and people can't see it, even though we know that you're a loving, caring individual. You have so much to give to this planet and to yourself, but with the pain and trauma and hurt, we don't want to have that happen anymore. So we protect. So opening up the heart and exposing ourselves and being vulnerable is against your belief system. It's against those rules. Those rules are, hey, I've been hurt. I'm not going back there again. So how do we then manage our archetypes, our labels, who we are, and what your title is, what your role is, who you say you are? Is that really you? Or is that a role of performance to let society, your family, your community think that you're doing what society expects? And what happens is sometimes we get so deep into what we're doing, what we're pretending to doing, is that imposter syndrome, that we start getting lost. We get lost on who we are. And so people will come to me in sessions and go, I don't know what my passion is anymore. Next. I am suffering and I'm struggling and I do not know what to do. Is because we left our soul way back in the past. And we've been these people pleasers for so long. And I hear this a lot, especially with women, but I hear it with men as well, that women are saying, I'm always taking care of everybody else first. I've been this people pleaser. I put myself last on the list. And now I'm depleted. I'm exhausted. I don't have anything left. And when we get to that point, we don't have any energy to figure out where we belong. We just know it's not working. So when we go back and begin to activate our heart and we take off some of these personalities that don't longer serve us, the warrior, the prostitute, the healer, the caregiver, these archetypes are what we take on as uniforms, these labels, in an effort to perform. We don't check in and say, this is what I want to do. What we do is say, this is what's required of me because I got here. How do I get out of it? How do I unravel where I am? And this doesn't mean your life is horrible or that you don't like parts of your life. This is about when you want to use your intuition and you want to figure out where your passions are and you want to heal your traumas and you want to feel a connection to the universe, your loved ones, whatever that looks like for you, then it's about how do you take off this clothing? I live in Colorado. Some of you, I saw some places that you live at. It's also winter cold. When we bundle up, we have all these layers. We can't get to our bodies because we have all these layers. I remember I did daycare, childcare. No one can believe that, but I did years in another lifetime here. And I remember getting these kids bundled up and taking them outside, and someone had to inevitably go to the bathroom, right? But we have all these layers that we add on through life to protect ourselves, or to have these abilities to be able to say, I need to take care of this. I need to take care of this. I need to take care of this. And we use these archetypes, these labels, these earth suits that keeps us from connecting with our heart and keeps us from aligning our brain that we're together as a really powerful super power energy to help us, give us direction. It helps us to navigate this earthly realm, because we are connected to the universe. Believe it or not, if we really want to know where our work is, it's understanding that we're all the same. And we're in this really intense political climate right now, and we think that we're very different, but we're not. We're all the same. We all desire exactly the same thing. We want to be able to be healthy. We want healthy relationships. We want to be able to be financially stable or connected, or that we can help others when we can. We want to be able to have the ability to have our voice and be able to do what we want to do creatively. We want to do some great deep soul searching. Everyone's the same, but that mirror that I was talking about earlier it's a reflection, and when we see other people, like what we desire, do we see ourselves? Do we see the pain? Do we see the suffering? And when people come to me, at least, I feel like we want to heal that suffering. We want to heal that part of us that maybe has recently happened or has happened multiple times. We want to go, I want to be the best version of myself. In my belief system, I believe that we came here to Earth to learn. We came here to grow and to expand. And our belief system originally from maybe family, community, things like that, put a belief system that served for a period of time. But what happens is we get kind of stuck. We get kind of stuck in the fear. We get stuck that this is the only way. And what happens is that we can't really navigate what's happening to us because we don't expand. We can't see beyond what we were taught and what we were given. When we look at ourselves as part of the universe, and we look at ourselves as that everyone on this planet, animals, plants, Earth, sun, moon, all those things, when we look at all this being connected, we realize at that time or that moment that we are here to expand. We're not here to stay in these limited types of lives. The other part of this is when we have trauma and we have times in our life that are really difficult, it is because we're ready for expansion. We are ready. And that's why we were saying earlier, it doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. And I'm not saying every situation that fits. Like, I don't believe in certain things, like lines like, people are in a better place or God wanted them when someone dies. I don't believe any of those things. And I do not believe that every single circumstances it happened for you versus to you. So I want everyone to know right up front, this is just basically when we're going through our life challenges, whether it's, financial, or we're sick, or we're having some struggles, or even when there's a certain loss, because we all know at some point we are going to go to the other side. And this is one that could be a touchy topic, and I'm not going to go into depth with this, but what I'm going to say is, what do we do with those experiences? Do they define us? Do we take that and define us and begin to change and have a ripple effect on the planet? Do we change our experience and learn more? Do we take those experiences and give us the ability to go beyond where we are? We have a tendency to take our traumas and our pain and we put it in armor around us. We carry it like this cloak. We carry it like it's part of our identity. And there are periods of time we need to do that. Absolutely. There is no doubt that we need to carry that with us because it is part of where we are and how do we heal that and how do we work through that. But then you get to decide at some point. There isn't a time frame. No one can say it's time to do this. You have to decide of when do you shed that archetype? When do you begin to say, I want to feel differently about this. I want to connect with my heart. I want to connect with my brain. I want to connect with the universe, and I want this to shift. You get to decide. And one thing I know without a doubt, when we don't make changes, more trouble comes up. And I mean that for a lot of us, we're comfortable in suffering, meaning we've taken on a lot. We can endure a lot. People will say, oh, you're so strong. Look what you've been through. You just keep on going. That's the warrior. When the warrior archetype does that, the warrior can go through things and continue going through things, but it also means that they sacrifice. And to me, it's, why do you need to sacrifice? Why can't you stop being the warrior and begin to sit in it and go, it's time for me to heal this. It's time for me to look at this differently and figure something out. It's all about what you believe. And it's not about what I believe to tell you. I'm just giving you ideas of how to, reframe and look at things. But if you believe in things that are not working for you, that don't feel aligned, then it's time to research. Doesn't mean you dismiss everything that you've been taught and what you've been carrying and believing. What it means is, what do you add to it? What do you shift? What do you look at? Because your heart and soul is begging you to. It's saying, how long are you going to do this? How long are you going to continue plugging along? So many times I hear people's stories and I say, well, how long ago did this happen to you? And they go, like 20 years ago. And the story continues to repeat. And wouldn't it be nice to hear a new story? Like, I started healing that, and now I'm doing something different with my life. Now I'm taking that experience and I'm doing something purposeful. I'm taking that experience and I'm making a difference in the world. So I believe that there's a difference between purpose and passion. Our passion is something we want to do that makes us feel alive. Teaching is one of those things for me. Oh, I just had a blank screen there. Oh, it's time. Maybe that's what the medicine is. That's the spice I need to add to my food. That's what I need to kind of shift things. Your purpose is your lessons, what you're here to learn. And those lessons can be tough. And those lessons are not about a competition. I think a lot of times when people have had a lot of challenges in their life, it becomes a competition. Let me tell you my story versus how about the story of the success? The pain took you here. And that's where people really change lives. You can be an example to others. And you can show up in your life by saying, this is what I went through, but this is where I am. And it gives other people hope. And I think humans are really designed to help other humans, whether it's our planet, whether it's our animal species, whether it's each other, whatever you want to believe in, it is about making change. We feel better. We get value by making a difference. So when we look at what we've gone through and then how to get back to the soul, your heart knows all your secrets, whether they're shameful or whether they're powerful or they're here to kind of make a big difference. They are here. Your heart knows. So I don't know. I really feel that it's important to remember you're not lost. You just got to bring out that compass once again. And you got to remember. And I think what happens so many times, and man, I'm feeling this right now, so it must be someone that's watching, we start grasping. Just give me the answer. Just tell me this. Like, give me the recipe. And there are some actually tools and recipes, but it is what they call the journey. And it is a journey. You have to figure out how it's going to work for you. What do you do to show up for yourself? How do you reconnect with the heart? How do you begin to heal? I don't believe in letting go. People say, oh, I can't let go. I don't teach it. But we can go within and we can go to a place of, why do I not want to heal this? Why do I want to carry this as a torch? Why do I want to wear this as a label? We do. We enjoy. I mean, if we look at how many things in social media and the news and books that are written, stories that are told, books, movies, it's all written about these stories of drama that people have gone through this. We are told as society, your story has value. But better yet, you have value. And where do you find that value so that you can make the difference that you came here on this planet? And how do you take that key and open those doors so that you can make a difference in not only your life, but the lives of those that are connected to you? I said this yesterday, and I had a conversation with someone today, and I started cracking up because it's what I use all the time. We need to put our mask on first before we put the mask on somebody else. And it is something that's even in my book, because when you are maybe a healer, I feel like you're here to help others. I hear this all the time. Oh, I'm an empath. I feel other people's stuff all the time. I think I'm here to help other people. No, you're not. You're here to help you put your mask on. You're here to help you to be a witness for other people, to say, oh, I can do the same thing. But I also know I will never heal another human being, ever. What I do is provide information and data and tools so people can take it on themselves to heal themselves. It empowers people. Empowers people. When we think we heal somebody else, that's our ego. Look what I did. No, they did the work. You provided the opportunity. We call it holding space. We hold space for people to find their magical piece of who they are, to be able to see that they're capable. Because so many times people are told, you can't do this, and who do you think you are? And That's not possible. All the different limiting beliefs. So going back to your brain, going back to how it's wired, our limiting beliefs tell us things that society has told us that is not true. Absolutely not true. But we believe it and we hold it and we keep believing it and we make it go deeper and deeper into the crevices of our brain. And our job is to not let those crevices stay there. It's to take those things and heal those belief systems and reroute our brains, rewire them. Neuroplasticity is what they call, to rewire that brain so it can believe differently. And it's to find a belief that you are capable of healing. That the trauma that you've experienced is not your identity, it is an experience. And from that trauma and that experience, that you can make a difference in other people's lives, but most of all, your own. It's about your life. Because we can't change anybody. The one thing I've learned, without a doubt, we have what's called teachers. And teachers are the ones that came here to help us learn these lessons. And we sometimes think, well, if I can get this person, my parent, my partner, my friend, my child, whoever it is that we want to label them, and say, if I could just get them to understand this, it'll be so much easier. They're not designed to change at all. So when we think that we can help people change, you're sort of going to be hitting a wall. And we usually want to change people around us to make our lives easier and better. Well, the only way to really do that is to change who we are, taking responsibility and accountability for who we are and what we believe and what we think, to change how we respond to situations. If we try to manage someone else to change, guess what? We don't have to learn a lesson. It's like getting the answers on the test beforehand and saying, I know how to do this. There's no work involved. What we're here to do is learn. And the people that cause us suffering and pain are designed in this lifetime to teach us. They're here to be our teachers. So if part of your compass in healing is thinking that I want to help other people heal and create an environment that is healing for you, but changing them, that's not what this is about. That's not going to be successful. It will never happen, at least not in this lifetime. So it's approaching this is about you going within and changing your heart to connect with the mind, to open and expand. And what I always believe is that we break open through our experiences to expand our awareness. I love thinking about the galaxy. I like the telescope of James Webb. I don't know if you guys or anyone here likes to look at the galaxy, but it's massive. And what they're getting back is just, we haven't even gotten to any idea of how big the universe is. I think of our brains that way. We haven't even tapped in to the depths of what our brains can do. We have no clue what our hearts can do. We've heard stories where prayer and thoughts and energy can help people heal and change. That's energy. We don't understand how energy completely works. We keep studying it. So if we look at these things, we can change, but we can't change others to fit our needs. We change ourselves to fit our needs, to take care of who we are, to support who we are, to take the steps in our life to make our lives better. And when we're able to do that, we help others. And we can help them unconditionally without that attachment. And that's really hard to do because we can get attached. That's our ego. Our egos get attached to the idea and feeling of being right. We get attached and addicted to helping other people. And we get very attached to it looking a particular way, and that control. And those three things do not align with the universe. So if you're wired to think those things, this is one of the first things you can look at. I need to rewire that I have to be right. I need to rewire that I can change other people because I know what's right and I want to be right because they're wrong. And so it's really rewiring that that's not going to ever work. Because if so, you would have not been here. You would have changed the people in your life that are causing you suffering. You would have been in a whole different place. And your heart is not designed to control other people at all. Your heart is to help you navigate this earth journey, these lessons that you're here to learn. That's what this is about. It's for you. It's not your heart compass, isn't for somebody else. Their heart compass is for them, which may be very different than what you think is right for them. And that's really hard for me as a mentor sometimes. I really struggle with, as I'm helping somebody and helping guide them, is that what I want for them may be different than what they want for themselves. If anyone's had children, they understand that. So it's to really understand what your heart is designed to do. The secrets of the soul are your secrets. They're your treasure box. They're your ability to dig in to what you came to do. And how you find that, how you dig deep, is you come into the present time to look at your story, to look at your experiences, to understand what you believe. And what archetype are you wearing? What are you doing every day? Are you an imposter? Are you a prostitute? And that prostitute, people go, what do you mean I'm a prostitute? How many times do we show up in a business meeting or with families or with neighbors or somebody, and we are not authentically ourselves because we want to have peace or we want everyone to get along? Now, there's nothing wrong with being the prostitute, but how much of that are you doing in your life? How much are you doing that? If you're doing that all the time in your life, then you're not going to be able to feel your heart, and your brain will not help you. It'll always be in fear. It will want to be in control. Your brain will continually tell you that you have to live in a certain perspective of life. And you're unable then to connect with the universe because you're not aligned. You're over here worried about all this other stuff that's going on, and you're unable to tune in for yourself. Now, I know there's going to be a lot of younger people, but for anyone that's over 40, over my age and older, just kidding. If you remember, we used to have on the roofs of the houses, what are they called? Dana's came on. Or we have the rabbit ears in the house. We have the rabbit ears with tinfoil, right?
Dennis.
Yeah. We try to connect with whatever's out there to be able to get it, the 3 channels that we had during that time. It's the same thing. Your brain and your heart are those rabbit ears that you've put tinfoil on trying to make a connection, and it's not going to work because you're not aligning with yourself. So the key is to listen to your heart and figure out what you're doing. Do we have people sharing? I can't read a thing, but.
Well, we have a couple of questions if you want to answer.
I would love to, since I just get to look at myself here because no one knows that I don't get to see them.
They feel you, though. So a couple comments. Sarah said, oh dear, I'm addicted to helping other people, so I feel better. If I focus on them, I don't have to look at myself. That's exactly the point, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Kathy Stevens-Mitson, let's see. Oh, I've answered her question about breathing. Sharon is asking, isn't changing you to fit into someone else's beliefs changing who you are?
Yes, that means you're the prostitute. So that archetype, when we talk about these labels, we have all these labels because we can identify where we fit. When we have a conversation, everyone's met, whether it's a business meeting or family gatherings, whatever. People ask, what do you do? What do you have kids? Are you married? They want to know these questions. We have these identities. So when we try to fit into other people, what you're believing is, I can't find someone that's aligned. I have to be able to fit into their life versus my own. You don't think you're worthy. Was there another question?
There's not as of yet. I think people are just listening.
Oh.
But we'll take that as just a little bit of a break to mention that your solution program is on the website. Emily just let me know that she put it on the website. So if anyone wants to take a peek at the solution, it's on the homepage of debshepard.com, and I'll put that on the screen real quick so you guys can check it out. But this is a 6-month program that Deb teaches where you learn all of these tools to put in your toolbox.
Mm-hmm. one of the things is people maybe want to ask questions, please do so, is our ego likes to protect us. So when we think about being a child between 0 and 6, we don't have those filters, but we understand as a child, if we do something wrong, we're going to get in trouble, right? There's going to be a timeout. Maybe some of us got spankings, things like that happen to us. So the ego goes into fear. I need to do this to make sure that if I do the right thing, I'll be rewarded. We start doing those things. And so we don't sometimes like to create more pain, of course. So that's where our labeling, and we become somebody else in order to fit in or not have pain. But what happens in the long run, we're in more pain because we've lost who we are. We've abandoned ourselves. And this is one of the things that we've had in the class where people said, I, for years, have abandoned myself. So as the person was saying that taking care of everybody else, you're right. It distracts us. We don't have to look at our things, and we feel valuable if we can make a difference. But that means that we don't feel value in other areas unless we're of service. And we also believe that we cannot receive. And one of the things I find primarily with women, but I see it in men as well, is the ability to receive is really difficult. And so teaching people that to learn to receive, if you want to hear from your loved ones, if you want to hear from your guides, if you want to receive the job or the pay or love, we have to learn to receive. And most of us are not comfortable. We're told it's not nice to receive or ask for help. Can't you do it on your own? So how do we then shift that consciousness or that belief system so that we can create a balance of the yin and the yang? And if we look at the moon and the sun, if we didn't have the moon and the sun, we would not be on this planet. So we do need a yin and yang, and we don't understand that it has to be a yin and yang. So does that make some sense? Okay. I grew up in a family where your parents never said, I love you, and don't know how to find your heart because I wasn't modeled as a child. Do you suggest how to find it? Yeah, Carrie, great question. Or is it Corey? Carrie.
And I did type in a response to Deb
good.
From that. But yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, absolutely. I think we take so much role modeling of our parents. And as part of it, well, if you find out Dana's story, you're going to realize you don't want that modeling. But you had your grandparents, right? You had some other people. But I think it's looking beyond. Look, can you go outside and look at people that you're connected to? And I think there's sometimes what I'm getting for Corey is a little fear of that's not possible or I can't have that. And that means to me is even if that person sees, if Corey sees other people or Carrie sees other people in relationships, there's a belief system that it's not possible for you. And I think it's that belief system of why can't it be you? If you think about someone that was adopted, or you think about somebody that their parents died when they were young, how do you then develop a belief system? And everything I teach is how do you look for a belief system? One of the things I wrote down here in my notes for today was looking for our blind spots. We get very focused on, what our mission is and what we need to do. But when we connect with others that maybe don't align or they mirror something or poke the bear, whatever it is, it's showing us where our blind spots are. Where are your blind spots? And sometimes we just get agitated with people versus what in that person is that part of me? And how do I look at it and begin to make this shift and the conscious change of like, hey, wait a minute, I need to look at that. And I think we're not taught always that. And I think things like talk therapy are beautiful. I think I'm so glad that people are looking at that more. But you have it within you to think about how is it that this affects me? And what I get with Carrie too is, I want to make sure it's Carrie. Yeah, Carrie is use your imagination. We're not taught to use our imagination. What we're taught is to be logical and to be able to say, well, this is how things work. Which is why when someone wants to be creative, the parent or someone says, you need to get a job in bookkeeping to make sure you can pay the bills. Being creative is really the key. We want to be able to then change that. But I really want everyone to know that this isn't rocket science. but it's also could be a challenge when it comes to looking at our personal history and our experiences and to heal. But when you're part of a community, or when you've got some new tools, or you have these new insights, it doesn't have to be that hard. And it's how do you then lean into changing your life? And I think the big question for you to ask yourself is, where do you want to be next year? And what's it going to take for you to get there? That's bottom line. What is it going to take for you to get there? And are you in a place of alignment with your heart and with your head to heal that? Well, yesterday we talked about working on the heart and opening that up. Dana can probably post that again, but if you were here yesterday, I would encourage you to do the same exercise one more time today, and then figure out, ask yourself the question, what do you desire? So that your heart can start talking to you and you can start learning how to communicate with that. But bottom line, we're here again tomorrow, so bring your questions. If anyone else that you think that this would be helpful for, we would love to see them as well. And we really appreciate everyone taking time out of their lives and busy schedules to be with us, because we know that we're all in this together. We're all sharing this planet. We're all trying to heal. And I am honored and blessed for you to be here with me today. And Dana, and thank you, and namaste.